Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped. Now, in 2020, Škoda released the Enyaq, their first foray into the world of all-electric drivetrains. And since then, it's become a hugely important car for them and a very successful car too, one of Europe's best-selling electric vehicles. Here we are in 2025, and it's time for a facelift. Although, to be fair, what they've done to the Enyaq looks way more than just a facelift. Now, the last time I was in an Enyaq was at the back end of last year in Czechia with Oliver Solberg behind the wheel, doing some fairly aggressive driving around a car park, and that was in the VRS model. I really love this car, and it comes in two form factors, a coupe and an SUV. We've got the SUV with us today, but the facelift is also being applied to the coupe, which we'll see shortly. I want to take a little walk around the car and talk about some of the details, both inside and out. But the first things first, when you look at the front of the car, the first thing I think about actually is the Škoda Enyaq, which is the new EV that I went out to drive at the back end of last year as well. The front end of the car has lots and lots of family DNA running through it. So let's take a deeper look. So I think the most noticeable changes for the new Enyaq are at the front end of the car. It now takes the TechDeck Face that we see in Enyaq, and that includes the daytime running light elements over there and this strip that runs across the front with these illuminated elements, and that's just a really standout feature, especially in low light conditions or at nighttime. That's going to look absolutely excellent. And then there's no grille at the front. It's an EV. Clearly EVs still need cooling, but we don't need as many radiator grills and so on. And all of the car's sensors and systems are behind this piece here, which is really super clean. Sometimes in cars, when you see radar modules or LiDAR cameras, those types of things, they're really obvious and almost a little bit ugly on the front end of the car. And they've managed to build it into the car and look really nice and sleek. And then you've got the matrix lights. Again, very, very similar to Enyaq, that unit there, with all of the main lighting elements, side lights, headlights, full beam headlights. And there is a bit of a radiator grille at the bottom here, but the whole front of the car has this mean and almost, I don't like using the word aggressive on a car, but it's a purposeful look. And then the final thing, and we're seeing this across the whole Škoda family now, we've got the Škoda name there rather than the old badge, and that's part of the design language I first saw when I went to the Czech Republic a couple of years ago, and we saw all of the kind of body form shapes of the next 5 cars that Škoda were going to release. So the front end of the car, I really, really like. There are some sensors at the top of the windscreen as well, but they're nice and hidden. But yes, front end of the car, excellent. I'm a big fan. Let's wander down the side and look at some of the styling cues down there. Now, before we walk down the side, I want to talk about this color. It's called olive green, and it is beautiful. It's kind of a mix of a few of my favorite colors. It's like a slightly darker version of Porsche Aventurine green, but it really shows off the car well. The previous gen of Enyaq, I always liked the hyper green, especially on a VRS model. They're a real standout, look at me, I'm coming. This is way more subtle and grown up, but very, very beautiful. Wheel choice. Let's talk about wheels to start with. Firstly, there are 19, 20 and 21-inch wheel options depending on trim level and spec box tick. These are the 21s, and I have to say, I think they sit in the car really well and don't look like 21-inch wheels at all. It amazes me. If you put 21-inch wheels on a car, I don't know, 10 years ago, certainly maybe even 5 years ago, they just look ridiculous. They look like something out of Pimp My Ride. Now they just sit on the car and look fine. I think a 19 or a 20-inch wheel might even be a little bit lost because it is a big car. It has scale, this car. And actually, that's the one thing that surprised me a little bit, having spent time at the back end of last year in the new Enyaq, which is the smaller baby brother of this. The Enyaq really is a big car. SUV format, probably for my lifestyle, is the one to go for because I think you get a little bit more boot space, a bit more headroom. But my personal favorite from the outside is the coupe. I just think the coupe is a very stylish car. The coupe has a lower drag coefficient than this, by the way. And this is a super slippy car. Škoda have worked really, really hard to make this car as aerodynamic as possible. And you can see little things on the front, just in front of the front wheels. There's a little air curtain coming down the side. It's a really nice, slick design. But let's take a look at boot space, because this car is all about practicality. Sadly, I didn't bring two puppies with me or my bike, so I won't be able to do my ultimate tests, but we'll think of something. Oh, sorry, I was having a bit of a nap. It was a long drive here today. Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that I'd sleep in the back of this, although if I put the seats down, there'd be plenty of room. 585 litres in the back of this Enyaq. It is a huge space. The coupe will be a little bit less than that, a slightly lower headroom, but lots and lots of nice features in here, as you would expect from Škoda. First up, you can drop the rear seats with these little levers here. You can just both sides pull there and pull there, and that drops the seats down. And then this floor has a variable height, so there's some underfloor storage, but you can also raise it here so you've got a smooth lip. So if you want to slide big loads in, it's really easy. The parcel shelf removes. Unlike the L-Rock, what I really liked about that, they had the little cargo net underneath the parcel shelf for your charge cables. Here you've got this little accessory bag here to put your charge cables in. That drops down the side really nice and neatly. You've got your shopping bag hooks, which I love about Škoda. So a really nice, practical space. Could I fit my bike in the boot with the wheels on? I'm almost guaranteed yes. I mean, there is loads and loads of room in there. Whether I get my e-bike in there, that's another story. Definitely my road bike, and plenty of room for the puppies. Question is there room for a big, tall, 6'3" human being behind the driver's seat? That is the big test. Now, as it happens, I've probably spent as much time in the back of an Enyaq as I have driving one, because whenever you go on a Škoda press event, it's normally Enyaqs that ferry you around everywhere. And I've always found them very, very comfortable places to be. I've got the driver's seat set for me as a driver, 34 to 35 inch inside leg, and there's plenty of room in here for me. I always find it quite difficult to get comfortable in the back of cars anyway. But this is a big format car, but you've got lots of room in the back for 2 to 3 adult passengers, a huge boot, lots of headroom, and lots of nice, comforting things. I've got heated seats, I've got aircon, I've got a nice window blind if I want another sleep. So it's a beautiful place to sit. But before we jump into the driver's seat, let's just have a quick chat about the different range options within Enyaq and also their pricing. The Enyaq SUV and Coupe will be available in 3 trim levels: SEL, Edition and Sportline. They also have 3 battery size and drivetrain options. The 60, which has a 63 kilowatt-hour battery, 204 PS, 310 Newton meters and is rear-wheel drive. The 85, which has an 82 kilowatt-hour battery, 286 PS and 545 Newton meters, and again is rear-wheel drive. And then there's the 85X, which has an additional front motor but has the same power and torque as the 85. The 60 will do 268 miles WLTP. The 85 will do 359 miles in SUV trim and 365 miles as a coupe. The 85X will do 332 miles SUV and 334 miles as a coupe. Prices start from the SEL 60 SUV at £39,000 all the way up to the top spec Sportline 85X Coupe at £50,650. It should be noted though that these prices are very similar to the previous generation Enyaq's pricing, although each model has a significant amount more equipment included as standard. The modern day Škoda is a lovely place to sit. Gone are the days where any badge snob had any kind of ammunition down the pub when you're chatting about your new car. It's lovely in here. And I think the ergonomics are really well thought through as well. I can imagine that this tablet sticking out of the dash isn't for everyone. It is a little bit of the kind of iPad afterthought, but it does sit nicely, and I like the way that the dash sculpts around it. And it's got a really good amount of information on it. They're very easy to use. I've spent time in Enyaq and Enyaq using that. There's also a driver's information display in front, and depending on trim level, you can also get a head-up display with augmented reality, which is a really nice system to use. There are some buttons in here, which is a good thing. A lot of stuff is done by touchscreen, including your climate control, but you do have a range of buttons there. You've got lots and lots of storage as well, a couple of places to charge mobile phones, a couple of drinks holders. I've got a bin in here with, again, typical Skoda stuff, lots of little clever ways to manage the storage space in the car. These seats are trimmed beautifully and feel really comfortable. And I can imagine that this car is a wonderful place to do a long journey. Sadly, that is not something I'm going to be able to do today. It's just a first glance studio shoot, but I hope to get my hands on this car very, very soon. But inside, big, big thumbs up. Let's jump outside and we will conclude this video with my final thoughts. So my final impressions on the new facelift Enyaq. I like it a lot. I love this color. I know I've talked about it already, but I think this color and the spec of this particular car is right up my street. It's one of these cars, really, I want to be able to drive it, but I like the way that Skoda are going with their design language at the moment. Their cars look really stylish. This and the Enyaq have got a really lovely kind of family resemblance. I love that TechDeck front end with the lighting highlights. And then the rear of the car finishes cleanly. There's some nice sharp edges. It's just a nice looking car. It will be interesting to see if it goes down and is as successful as the first generation of Enyaq, but all the signs from my perspective are good. And I know today is a lot about aesthetics and so on, and they are very subjective. It's, you know, you may look at this and not think it's a lovely looking car. I personally look at it and really, really like its styling. The proof will be in the driving, and hopefully we'll get to do that soon. And put it through its paces, put the range and the drivetrain, the internal tech through its paces. But it's a thumbs up for me from an aesthetics point of view. Put in the comments what you think about the Enyaq facelift. But for now, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come, and I'll see you on the next film. You take care, guys. Drive safe.